Well, good morning, YouTubers. I came out here this morning. I had a friend stop by the other day, actually yesterday, and I was just showing him some things around here, and I was going to go out here and crank this motor. Of course, it had about run out of gas, so I spun it around a few times, and the battery was a little weak, and at a certain point, it kind of caught. Made a loud noise like somebody hitting something with a hammer. And well, I thought, well, that can't be good. I came out this morning, spun it around again, and I had it happen again. And it seems to be happening on one spot of the flywheel. So I thought I would inspect the flywheel and the starter gear. This is one of those little high torque mini starters that I got on here. They're all the rage. As I'm looking down in here, I see some bad looking teeth on it. It may be that the starter gear in there went bad. Let me see if I can find a flashlight. Probably what I'm going to wind up doing is taking this off. Now see, look. See that little spark, that little shiny spot right in there? That don't look like real bad teeth, but it looks like something's been happening right in there. Let's look over here. See those shiny looking teeth right there? Something ain't been exactly right there. I wonder if the alignment of the starter is a little off. I know at one time I was kind of playing with the idea of shimming that starter a little bit. Maybe I should. That ain't right. Now I do have a spacer. Okay, I took the plugs out, and I've been turning the engine by putting a wrench on these flywheel bolts. I've got a section of flywheel here that looks more chewed up than the other. Now the flywheel itself doesn't look, even though it's got those marks on it, it doesn't look that bad. Because I mean, basically it's got most of its teeth there and in pretty good order. I wonder if I guess I ought to think about it. Is it possible that I got the flywheel on backwards? I don't think so, because I think, see how these little sections here kind of lean out? Well, see, this is where your torque converter connects. However, sometimes they'll put a marking on your flywheel, say front or back or out or something. The other thing I can think to look at is to pull the starter off there and look at that. Something ain't right. I'm not sure what it is. I think I will just pull the flywheel off of there and study on that some and look at the starter some more. Okay, so I did want to take this off, but you see this mark right here? This is the crankshaft. So the mark of the crankshaft is on this, so this is the part that faces that, which is the way it was. So my next thing is to look at whether this looks like it's warped. I suppose we could set it on a flat surface like this table and look at that. It does not appear to be warped at all. I suppose the next thing to do is take the starter off and just have a closer look. I mean, it could literally just be that this is not lining up correctly. See, I put this little spacer in here to see if that would make it any better, but it didn't. I do have another little spacer. I think I might take the battery side on that starter off and take it out and take a look at it. Another thing I could do if push comes to shove is I could put one of my old Chevy starters on here and see if it works okay on here. Try to figure out why this one isn't. I think I might run down and grab me a Chevy starter, just one of those little big ones, those big ugly ones. Throw it on here. The only thing I can think of is that this thing maybe needs to have a spacer in it. Now, I tried this spacer. It won't quite go here. I might could nip out a little corner here and get it to go. Or I might could just get a couple of small washers of about that same size and put in there. I could try that before I grab a big starter. Let me see what I got for little washers. So I've got a couple of pretty thin washers here. Let's see if they'll fit. They'll fit. What I could try doing is put this bolt back up in here like this, put a washer on it, boom, and then do the same thing over here. Some of y'all watch all this stuff, and my feeling is, you know, a lot of times, I mean, I'm just not trying to justify my silliness, but some people can't take watching all this because it's like, oh man, I watch these videos for hours and hours and they still don't get the thing running. Well, for me, it's not really so much about getting the thing running. It might be so much about, you know, all the different things you can run into, like something like this. Now, so this is in here all the way up to where the thread's in on this side. Yeah, so that's plenty on that side. Let's see how far this one goes up in here, just to check. See, that goes way up in beyond there, which is good. Good and plenty. And then I'll put these two little washers on it. That will space this out just a little. And then when we put it back on there, we'll just see. Sometimes on a starter, you're going to have issues getting the bolt spacing just right. Alright, now let's put the flywheel back on it. You see a hole right here and you see a hole right there that matches up to that hole. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to put this on here. Okay, say a little prayer and we'll give it a spin. Look there. That looks good, don't it? So, all it took to fix it was some really narrow washers. Now I had these washers. These are the ones I bought the other day when I was up front working on the brackets for the alternator, and they were a little thickish, which I wanted. The washers I put on here came out of my Eric Polson collection, and they were actually quite thin, which I wanted them to be because these starters often come with something like this, and this looks like it's about as thick as a feeler gauge. But they put these things that you can use to shim them with. Well, I couldn't get these to fit in there. But that thinner, a couple of those, you know, one of those thinner washers was a little bit thicker than two of these, but it was in that range, you know. So apparently that fixed that. Now I pulled the plugs out a while ago because I wanted to turn the motor over to make sure there was nothing internally that was hitting and keeping this thing from turning. And it didn't seem like there was. So what I'll do now is I'll tighten these bolts up again, and I'll put the plugs back in, and then we'll crank it. And then if the crank's good, we'll put water in it, and then after it warms up, we will adjust the valves. Oh, the joy! That's not good.